right, back here on our VirginiaPreps.com Zoomcast. Matt Hatfield here with you, and we are joined by a special guest. He is the head boys basketball coach of the Western Branch Bruins in Chesapeake, the Chesapeake City League champions, as they prevailed over the Grassfield Grizzlies on Wednesday night at Indian River High School by a count of 37-33, using a 20-7 run in the second half to rally from 9 down. He is 114-48 overall as we add these, 8 wins, coach, in this Chesapeake City League to his career total with the Bruins, 3 state Final Fours with Western Branch since he's arrived there in Chesapeake from his days as an assistant and head JV coach at Nansemond River. We say hello and congrats to Paul Hall with us. Coach, your season is in the books. You got some type of a season, and I mentioned this to Cam Edmonds, one of your standouts that we'll chat about. Is it kind of a mixed feeling of, well, it wasn't the full season, it wasn't a state championship, competing for that, but something's better than nothing?
And that's exactly the feeling. Something is better than nothing. I mean, we would have loved to participate in the VHL season, which transpired earlier. We really wanted a chance to get back and see if we could have competed with some of the 6A schools. We were looking forward to it. Then, of course, COVID-19, Chesapeake thought that it was, best for us not to play. But then they allowed us to have this city-only league, and it actually turned out better than a lot of us initially thought. A lot of coaches had a lot of reservations at first, but it turned out well, and it gave my guys a chance to bring some closure, especially my 3 seniors. It gave them a chance to bring some closure to their high school careers. Outstanding careers, I must say, between Cam Edmonds, Bobby Johnson, and even Tyrell had great careers here at Western Branch, and they really have left their mark.
Yeah, for sure. No, one of the better 1-2 punches around with Edmonds and Bobby Johnson. But, I think of the 54 or so schools in Class 6, 51 of them got to play, and only the 3 Chesapeakes didn't get to play in the VHSL season. You guys, along with Oscar Smith and Grassfield, who you played in the championship. And I think we had you slated for preseason number 2 in the Class 6 top 10. You've made a trio of state Final Fours, but you probably definitely felt, like you said, you could have been right there with the Centervilles, the South Counties, the Lansdowne, some of the better teams in Class 6, Potomac as well. And you guys have been there the last few years. As the season got underway, what was kind of the biggest challenge? I mean, you all have to be practicing with masks and all the social distance measures. There's a certain amount of time you can be in the gym, times you can't. I mean, what was for you as a head coach organizing all this to get it off the ground? What was kind of the biggest stress on you?
Well, believe it or not, the COVID mitigations were not that difficult because luckily I had my assistant coaches, Charles Thomas and Eric Black. They were also football coaches. So they had gone through the process with football, and they were able to keep me, grounded with what we had to do and the breaks we had to take. And, we couldn't do this, we couldn't do that, we had to separate, keep kids in groups during, certain times. So they did an excellent job of handling the COVID mitigation. We called Thomas the COVID czar. He was the COVID czar. So he was able to handle that for us. The hardest part, though, Matt, is the fact that we had such a long layoff. We hadn't been in the gym since that night we lost in the 6A Final Four to Centerville. We hadn't been able to get back in our gym now. That made it tough. And then you put in the fact that we had no future league, we had no fall league, and now we're trying to bring some kids who've never played, because we lost 6 seniors last year. So we're trying to bring some kids who've never played varsity basketball and mix them in with kids that have experience. And so there was a huge gap between the kids that knew what was going on and the kids that couldn't even chew bubblegum and walk at the same time. And so we had to mesh those two together. I mean, we had 9 new players on this team with 3 seniors, 3 returners, and then 9 brand new players who had never played varsity basketball before. And so that was the big key right there, was how do we mesh those 2 teams together?
Well, as a coach, too, I imagine you're kind of darned if you do, darned if you don't from this standpoint. As you're getting ready for the spring league, you owe it to your seniors who have put the time and effort in to play them. You mentioned the Ties, the Cams, the Bobbies of the world that basically have been, pouring their blood, sweat, and tears into the program. But at the same time, as a coach, you're like, well, I got to get these other guys ready, as you mentioned, the 9 new faces. So is it one of those – I don't know if catch-22 is the right way of putting it, but what do you do as you go into the planning of this? Because that, this is a condensed league here, but you're also going to be a little bit later getting into the off-season regimen for the 21-22 campaign coming up. And was it also I guess internally a bit of a struggle, like how much do I play the younger guys and how do we get the rotations to where you're benefiting these seniors going out, giving them something, but also get the young guys ready?
Well, I'll be honest, we told our freshmen and some of our first year sophomores that they would not play much. We said, your job is to get better in practice. So they were basically the scout team. Now, you answer that question by saying this: how much better do they get playing a minute here, a minute there in the game versus playing, an hour in practice against Cam Edmonds, Bobby Johnson, Tyrell, against these returning guys? And we saw steady improvement over that 3-4 week season of some of our young guys. We got some talented guys, but they're young and inexperienced. And then we have some team camps coming up. Matter of fact, we're slated to go to a team camp next weekend over down at Liberty in Lynchburg. And we're going to take this new group, no seniors. We're going to take this new group and we'll just throw them in the fire and see how they do. And then, of course, you got Wesleyan coming up. I think NSU has a camp coming up. So we're going to get them in some camps and just see how we do this summer.
It's funny watching your program the last few years, and I brought some of these names up to Cam Edmonds, who got to learn behind the Kendall Bynums, the DeMarcus Shepherds, the Deshaun Dixons, the Saquon Whites, DJ Driscolls, and those that were part of your first run to a state playoff. That there's that culture and that winning mentality and identity that you guys now have at Western Branch. And when you got there trying to build that, speak on that, just kind of getting that developed, because you did come from a winning program with one of the basketball czars, if you will, and Ed Young at Nansemond, where you guys had kind of that MO of conditioning, being able to get in transition and having some great comebacks. And to no surprise, much like those days with the Warriors, and we've seen the last couple of years of the Bruins and some of your big battles, be it against Oscar Smith, whoever, a comeback last night. There's really no panic when your team gets down double figures.
All right. Well, a big part of that is just practicing. We practice, we prepare, and our mindset is if it's within 10, we can always come back. And we really had to rely on our defense last night because we were like 8 for 40. We were awful shooting the basketball, but our defense kept us in the game. And it's funny you say something about culture, because I told these guys the young guys at the very start of the season, we went down, we talked about, how West Branch has transformed, and not that they were not relevant before I got here, but we talked about the culture since I've been here and since and some of the things that we've done. And that's another reason why I couldn't, just turn my back on Cam, Bobby, and Time, and like, well, I'm not going to play you guys and play. I just wouldn't have felt right with that. That wouldn't set right with me because they had put so much into the program. So I wanted them to have a chance to go out playing. And I told those young guys early in the season when we were talking about culture, I said, well, all you guys got to do is keep a game close. Cam Edmonds and Bobby Johnson are not going to let us lose because they know how important winning is to Western Branch basketball. And you look at that game last night, we were down, and I think Cam and Bobby scored our last 20 points. We were down, and they went on that 20-7 run, and it was all Cam Edmonds and Bobby Johnson. And they're really, when you talk about standard holders or standard bearers to a program, they will be right in that list of some of those other guys that you've named. They'll be right in that list of some of the best to come out of Western Branch.
Sure. Well, and it's been one of the better duos here in Hampton Roads lately. And even prior to that, when you had Ephraim Butter Johnson, one of the better trios in Hampton Roads when you guys made a state playoff run. Coach, it's interesting to me, too, because you mentioned the sparks, the runs. I mean, you were down 8 in the first half against Grassfield. And Jay Neeson, let's give him a quick shout out, the kid going to the Apprentice School. He was terrific for them and Coach Eric Johnson's Grizzlies. But I think Apprentice is getting a steal, and him had a double-double. But you're down 8, and I thought Bobby got you back in it by halftime with just his overall play and tenacity at both ends. And then the second half, Cam, I know he was dealing with a little bit of an injury, started to get going a little bit there. And those two guys together were like 19 of 21 from the foul line. Nobody else had a free throw for you guys. But I asked Cam and I said, there's a lot of good guards in the area. I mean, you can go to guys at like the Epps at Kings Fork and the Donald Hands at Lansdowne, the Allen Struthers at Menchville, the DJ Campbells at Kickitan, and others, the Coopers and Kennedys at Green Run. What do you think a college is getting you? And he said, winner. I think winning matters, like you just said, so much to them. Tell us more about, beginning with Cam and then Bobby, what they've brought to your program and their individual games as well as their outlooks for the next level in your eyes.
Well, the thing with those guys, and again, this is why it's going to be a big loss to the program. They've been with us since they were in the 5th grade. Going way back to when we first got in, we had basketball camps, we had Future League, we actually had Junior Future League. those guys were on that team. So they've been in they've been in the program forever, and it's they're family, and so it's going to be difficult to say goodbye to them. But they brought that winning mentality. They've been winning their entire career. They won future leagues, they won middle school championships. Since they were here, we won the district a couple of times. We went to the state a few times. Didn't win it, but that's okay. Everybody can't win it, but we got there. And so this was kind of a crowning achievement for those guys. I guess the cream on the top of the careers that they've had. But Cam brings outstanding shooting, improved every year. He got better and better and better. And as COVID hit, we lost some kids. We had kids that left out of the program, guys that probably would have been major contributors this year. They went to other schools, and I can't blame them for that. They went to other schools because they wanted a chance to play, because we weren't playing. And Cam really stepped up. He just, he said, Coach, I got to do more. And he did more. Whereas last year he was a facilitator. He really took it upon himself to say, hey, I got to put points on the board. Bobby is just that dog. He's that guy that, he hates to lose. And he's going to, last night he had a chip tooth. He got fouled, chip tooth. It wasn't called. He had to come out the game. He was like, Coach, I'm ready to go back in. I said, you got no TV in your mouth. He was like, I'm going back in the game. So he went back in the game and played chip tooth and all. And that just kind of epitomizes, the type of kid that he is, because they just have that we're not going to lose attitude. And, they're winners. Like they said, they're both just winners.
Yeah, well, and if I had chipped my tooth, I'd been worried about A, how I'm going to eat with the chipped tooth. B, I'm not going back in there because I'm not chipping any more teeth and it hurt me. So that shows a little bit of that fearlessness, like you said, dog mentality he's got for sure. And Edmonds, it's funny watching him. I brought this up to him back at ODU team camp a couple summers ago. He doesn't always drop 40, but he did drop 40 the last time he played Grassfield back on May 12th when you won. He has moments where he kind of gets that eye of the tiger in him, where he's got that like, all right, it's crunch time. I know doesn't always do that, and the game doesn't always dictate that, or the flow of the game doesn't always dictate that. But he has moments too where he kind of gets in that zone of like, all right, I'm not going down without a fight here.
Right. And he doesn't miss. He had some great games this short season. He had some great games.
Sure. As you turn the page now, these guys get ready for college, whatever levels that is. And at this point, nobody knows with everything happening here the last little bit with COVID. There's the colleges are looking more at some of these post-grad preps, different things. Who knows? Kind of how do you view this upcoming season? I guess there's a little bit of a relief. We got this in the books, no major issues, if you will. And now we've got to get ready for some of these young guys moving up the ranks, which is what programs do. You don't rebuild, you just reload in that sense. And I think it's going to be interesting to see how Class 6 all shakes out this year with some more changes to the division as a whole, and especially here on a local front.
Yeah. Well, we're going to give them the rest of the week off, definitely. And we'll hit it back on Monday, like I said, as we prepare for the team camp. And then we'll just have to take a look at our summer schedule. Normally we go 3 days a week during the summer. We'll do that. Focus a lot on skill development, chemistry. That's the big thing with us, is just chemistry. And if we can do that, I think we'll be okay. We have some length. We have some guys coming back. Jazari Priester, Jason Vaughn, who's been with us for a while. Quentin Dowell's been with us for a while. Jay-Sean Frazier. So we have some size coming back. We just have to get our guard play a little more steady, and we should be okay.
And lastly, I'll get you on this really tricky question, because I was going to throw a curveball at you, Paul. There's been a lot of talk now about the NFHS adopting this shot clock, and now it's up for – it's not going to happen for this coming year, but perhaps the following year in 22-23 with the state of Virginia, should the VHSL decide. I think they're going to meet about it in February and kind of have a decision on it. What's your take on it? And then just to kind of follow up on that, your take on that, just the state of high school basketball in general, as it's constantly changing as we get out of this pandemic now and get back to more crowds in gyms. I'm sure that was different this year, coaching without the typical amount of fans and media and everybody there, cheerleaders and so forth, kind of where the state of the game is. And you're a veteran coach, so I'm sure you have some perspective on it.
It's funny. We play with a shot clock in practice, believe it or not. We'll put 30 seconds on the clock, and we got to get a shot off before that 30 seconds, a good shot before that 30 seconds is over. That does two things. First of all, we have to play defense for 30 seconds or up to that amount of time. And then your offense has to work the ball around. They have to. What's the word I'm looking for? They have to run the offense. I can't think of the term I'm thinking about. Execute. They have to execute for those 30 seconds as well, and we do that almost every practice. We've played in a couple of leagues with the shot clock. I think North State Team Clock had one year we played, and up in DC one time we played it with shot clock. So it really doesn't bother because we try to shoot the ball quick anyway. We want a good shot, but we try to shoot quick anyway. And then our defense, we geared to play defense, good defense for at least 3, 4, 5 passes anyway. And I hate to bring it back up, but that was the difference in last night's game. Our defense kept us in that game. Had we played bad defense and were awful on offense, we'd got blown out. Mm-hmm. But our defense was able to keep us close enough that we were able to pull that out.
Well, and to that point, they didn't hit a 3-pointer until the last minute or so of the game. So yeah, while Eason had some moments where he was just an animal, I don't care who was guarding him. He was locked in, and it was his last game as well. I think you did a good job on their perimeter shooters, which that's the thing. I think your program's kind of got that feel now of, all right, even if we don't have some of the marquee name guys, and you've had some marquee name guys in the last few years, that we kind of have a way about us of how we do things.
Yep, that's true. Very true.
Well, congrats on the championship. Thank you for taking the time to spend some minutes with us and discuss your squad going unblemished and winning this crown in the city. And I'm sure we'll see you out and about at some of these summer camps and so forth as we hopefully have some of the masks off and we can get back to things pre-pandemic, as it'll be a post-pandemic, hopefully a celebration of some basketball and everything else.
I hope so, Matt. I hope so.
Paul Hall, head basketball coach of the Western Branch Bruins, Chesapeake City League champions. Thank you so much, and we'll see you soon.
All right. Have a good one.